Jake Carter sat straight up in his bed, heart pounding. The hallway lights outside his door flickered, then went dark. Someone was banging on a door down the hall, hard and fast, like they were trying to break it down with their shoulder. "Open up, please," a girl screamed. Then came a sound Jake had never heard before. A deep, wet growl. It wasn't loud, but it was close. Too close. Jake jumped out of bed and ran to the door, pressing his ear against it. Heavy footsteps dragged across the floor outside. Something scraped along the wall, slow and uneven, like it was pulling one leg behind it. The girl screamed again. Then the scream stopped. Jake covered his mouth with his hand to keep himself from making a sound. His phone buzzed in his hand. A group message from the Hostel group chat lit up the screen. "Emily, someone is attacking people on the 3rd floor. Mark, this isn't a prank. There's blood everywhere. Lucas, lock your doors now." Jake's hands shook as he locked the door and pushed his desk against it. His roommate, Ryan, stood frozen near the window, pale and silent. "What's happening?" Ryan whispered. Jake swallowed. I think someone is eating people." Right on cue, something slammed into Jake's door. Once, twice. The wood cracked slightly. Ryan covered his mouth. "Oh my God." A low moan came from the other side of the door. It didn't sound human. It sounded hungry. Jake backed away slowly. His mind raced. How did this even happen? This was just a normal college. Just a normal night. And only a few hours earlier, it was. That evening, the hostel had been loud and full of life. Students laughed in the halls. Music played. Doors were open. Jake and Ryan had complained about finals and eaten cold pizza while watching videos. Around 10:30 p.m., an ambulance had pulled up outside the building. Everyone assumed someone drank too much or got hurt at practice. No one paid attention. They should have. Jake remembered seeing campus security helping a man inside. The man's head hung low. His clothes were torn. His skin looked gray under the streetlights. Jake remembered thinking the man looked sick. Very sick. Back in the present, the thing outside the door stopped banging. Silence filled the hallway. Jake held his breath. Then came slow footsteps moving away. Ryan exhaled shakily. Maybe it left. Jake didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the crack in the door. A dark liquid slowly seeped under it, spreading across the floor. Blood. Jake's phone buzzed again. "Emily, it bit him." "Jake, bit who?" "Emily, my RA." He stood up after. "Mark, he's not human anymore." A loud crash echoed from downstairs. Screams followed. Fire alarms started blaring, their red lights flashing through the windows. Ryan ran to the window and peeked outside. "Jake, don't look." Jake looked anyway. Students were running across the courtyard. One of them tripped. Another student jumped on him, not to help, but to bite. Jake stumbled back. That's not possible. The banging returned. This time, it wasn't just one door. Multiple doors slammed up and down the hall. Moans filled the air. Hungry. Angry. Then Jake's door handle began to turn. Slowly. Ryan whispered, "We're trapped." The handle stopped. For 1 second, everything was quiet. Then a voice spoke from the other side of the door. "Jake, open up." Jake froze. It was Ryan's voice. But Ryan was standing right beside him. And whatever was outside the door began to laugh. Jake stared at the door, his heart beating so hard it hurt. The voice outside sounded exactly like Ryan. "Jake, please," it said softly. "Open the door. I'm hurt." Ryan shook his head fast, tears in his eyes. "That's not me. Don't listen." Jake backed away from the door. "I know you're not him," he shouted. "Go away." The voice went quiet. For a moment, Jake thought it worked. Then the door shook as something smashed into it with full force. The desk slid back a few inches. Ryan screamed, "It's going to break in." Jake grabbed his backpack and dumped everything out. "Window," he said. We climbed down. They rushed to the window. 3 floors up. The ground looked far away. Below them, students were running in every direction. Some were screaming. Some weren't screaming at all. They were biting. A zombie stumbled into the courtyard, its head twisted at a strange angle. Its clothes were torn. Its mouth was red. Jake felt sick. "This is real," he whispered. "This is really happening." Behind them, the door cracked again. Wood split. A hand pushed through the hole. The hand was gray. The fingers were stiff and shaking. Ryan grabbed Jake's arm. "Now!" Jake tied bedsheets together as fast as he could. The door burst open just as he threw the sheets out the window. The zombie that stepped into the room wore their Ra's jacket. His eyes were cloudy. His mouth hung open. He smiled. Jake didn't wait. He climbed out the window first, sliding down the sheets. His hands burned. His heart pounded. He hit the ground hard and rolled. Ryan followed, landing beside him. They ran. The fire alarm screamed above them. Red lights flashed everywhere. Zombies chased students across the grass, moving slow but never stopping. Jake grabbed Ryan's hand. "This way." They ran toward the library. The doors were open. People were pushing inside, trying to hide. Just as Jake reached the steps, someone fell in front of him. It was Emily. Her leg was bleeding badly. She reached up. "Jake, help me." Jake grabbed her arms and pulled. Before he could lift her, a zombie fell on her from behind. Jake froze. Emily screamed once. Then her scream turned into a low growl. Jake stumbled back, shaking. "No, no." Ryan pulled him away. "She's gone." They ran into the library and slammed the doors shut. Someone locked them with a metal bar. Inside, students cried and whispered. Phones rang nonstop. No one knew what to do. Jake slid down against a wall, breathing hard. "How did this start?" someone asked. Jake spoke without thinking. "The sick man. The ambulance. He came inside." A girl nearby nodded. "My roommate works at the campus clinic. She said they brought in someone bitten earlier tonight." Bitten. The word echoed in Jake's head. Ryan looked at him. "So it spreads." A loud bang hit the library doors. Then another. Zombies pressed their faces against the glass, hands smearing it red. The doors began to shake. Someone screamed, "They are getting in." Jake looked around desperately. There has to be another way out. That's when the lights went out. The library fell into darkness. Phones lit up faces blue and white. And from the shadows between the bookshelves, a slow growl answered them. Something was already inside. The growl came again. Low. Slow. Close. Jake held his phone tight, the blue light shaking in his hand. Around him, other students froze, their faces pale as the light from their screens flickered across rows of books. Someone whispered, "Please tell me that was outside." Jake swallowed. It wasn't. A shadow moved between the shelves. Then another. A zombie stepped into the light. It was a student Jake recognized from his biology class. Half of his face was dark with blood. His eyes were empty, like he was looking through everyone instead of at them. He opened his mouth and moaned. Panic exploded. Students ran in every direction, knocking over chairs and tables. Books fell to the floor. Someone tripped and didn't get back up. Jake grabbed Ryan's arm. "Follow me." They ducked behind the front desk as more zombies stumbled out from between the shelves. The sound of bones cracking and teeth snapping filled the air. Ryan whispered, "How did they get in?" Jake looked around and felt his stomach drop. A side door stood open. The emergency exit. Someone had tried to escape earlier and let them in. A zombie lunged over the desk. Jake shoved a chair into it and pulled Ryan toward the stairs. "Up!" Jake shouted. They ran upstairs to the second floor. The stairwell door slammed shut behind them. Jake locked it with a metal bar he found leaning against the wall. The banging started almost right away. Boom, boom, boom. Ryan slid down the wall, crying, "We're going to die." Jake shook his head. "Not yet." They moved through the dark floor carefully. Bodies lay still on the ground. Jake didn't know if they were dead or waiting. From the windows, they could see the whole campus. It was chaos. Buildings burned. Sirens wailed. Zombies wandered between dorms like they owned the place. Jake's phone buzzed. Emergency alert. Shelter in place. Do not approach infected individuals. Help is on the way. Ryan laughed weakly. Help. A crash echoed behind them. The stairwell door was breaking. Jake looked around fast. Then he saw it. A maintenance ladder leading up. To the roof. They climbed as fast as they could. Cold night air hit their faces as they pulled themselves onto the roof. For a moment, it was quiet. Too quiet. Then they heard helicopters. Spotlights cut through the darkness. Soldiers moved across the campus below, guiding survivors into trucks. Ryan smiled through tears. "We made it." Jake wanted to believe that. Then he heard breathing behind him. Slow. Wet. He turned. The RA zombie stood on the roof. How it got there didn't matter. It smiled. Jake stepped forward without thinking and shoved it toward the edge. The zombie fell, disappearing into the darkness below. Jake collapsed to his knees. Minutes later, soldiers pulled them into a helicopter. As the campus faded beneath them, Jake looked back at the hostel. Lights flickered in the windows. Shadows moved. The next day, the news said the outbreak was contained. They said it was an accident. They said no one else was infected. But late that night, as Jake lay in a hospital bed, he heard a low growl from the hallway. And somewhere nearby, a door slowly began to turn.